Hi everyone, so this is a quick little video about some basic music theory so that when I'm sharing videos about pieces of music and I want to talk a little bit about the harmony, we'll really concentrate on harmony right now. If you haven't taken any music theory, hopefully this will give you some sense of what I'm talking about. So, and I hope it also whet your appetite for learning a lot more about this because it's really fascinating and can get you into a whole new realm of thinking about music. So I just want to start with a C major scale. I've written it in treble and bass clefs, so you can just look at whichever clef you're most comfortable with. And I've written the scale degrees in the middle there. You might have learned solfege, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's fine too, but scale degrees are going to be a little more useful here. So here is the C major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And I should just add here that we're talking about C major because it's the easiest one to look at. But all of these concepts can be transposed into every other key. So all the other scales you've learned, and maybe some of the harder ones you haven't learned yet, this applies to all of these keys. What we're talking about is just the sense in which each note relates to every other note within the kind of web of a key. So the way that scale degree 1 relates to scale degree 5, let's say, in C major, is the same as the way that scale degree 1 relates to scale degree 5 in, for instance, F major, or D flat major, or F sharp major. And what we're going to start with is just building triads. And triads are chords that are made up of 3 notes, and those 3 notes are stacked in thirds. That is, each note is not adjacent to the previous note, but rather has one note in between. So I'll just show you what that looks like now. I'm just going to stack 2 thirds on top of each one of these scale degrees. Okay, so now I have a triad built on each scale degree. If I just play it, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. These triads are kind of the building blocks of most harmony in Western music in a major key. They're similar in a minor key with a few variations, but we're not going to bother with that for our current discussion because I just want to get these concepts really clear right now. We assign each one of these triads a Roman numeral, and the reason we don't just use regular Arabic numerals like these is because those usually stand for scale degrees, and we want the Roman numerals to be something which we can apply to a full chord, to a full triad. And the Roman numeral will be either capitalized or lowercase depending on what the quality of the chord is. And the quality just means, is it major? Is it minor? Is it diminished? Is it augmented? Etc. Those qualities are determined by how many whole steps or half steps are between each note in the chord, because you know that the whole steps and half steps are distributed differently throughout the scale, so depending on which third you're dealing with, like between C and E, this third here is a major third because it has 2 whole steps, but between D and F, that's a minor third because it has a whole step between D and E, but then a half step between E and F, so that's a minor third. And you can see that you can combine all of these in different ways to create different qualities of triads. So below the bass clef here, I've written the Roman numerals for all of the triads that we have above. You can see that 1, 4, and 5 are major, and 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and then 7 gets this funky little degree sign that actually in music is a diminished sign to say that not only is it minor, it's not minor, it's actually diminished. It has even 1 fewer half steps. It's 2 minor thirds stacked on top of each other, which creates a lot of nice tension that resolves then to 1. So these are the Roman numerals for the notes which are built on each scale degree within C major, and they're the Roman numerals actually for the notes built on each scale degree in any major key. So when we're talking about a piece of music and we say that, all right, we're on the 1 chord, or on the 4 chord, or on the 5 chord, you can see what that means in relation to the whole key. The 4 chord is always built on the 4th scale degree, and in a major key, that's going to be a major triad. In minor, it's actually different. It's a minor triad in minor, and all of these slightly shift their identity when you go into minor. But I want to look at 3 particularly important terms that you'll hear a lot, which are tonic, which refers to the chord built on scale degree 1, the dominant, which refers to the chord built on scale degree 5, Those are the two most important ones, tonic and dominant. You'll also hear subdominant, which refers to the chords built on scale degree 4. And all the rest of these actually have names: supertonic, mediant, submediant, leading tone. Those are going to be less important for our discussions of other pieces of music right now in this kind of general way. So I just want you to know that when we talk about tonic, that's the 1 chord. When we talk about dominant, that's the 5 chord. We can also add sevenths to any of these chords by simply stacking another third on top, and you get different qualities of seventh chords. I don't think we'll really need that right now, except I will just mention one extremely important one, which is if I add another third on top of the dominant triad, I get what's called a dominant 7th chord. And it sounds like this. 5, 7, 2, 4. And that chord, that dominant 7th chord, sort of combines together the 5 triad, 5, 7, 2, and the 7 triad, 7, 2, 4, which I said before has kind of a lot of tension. If you add those two together, you get this immense feeling that you want to resolve to 1. But of course, a lot of composers will subvert that and not always go to 1. They might go to 6 or somewhere else entirely. And so it's using these tendencies that these different chords have that enable composers to build up tension, to release tension, to create a sense of expectation, to defy our expectations, and so on. So I hope this helps you just understand a little bit of what I'll be talking about in some of these videos. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you, and I can try to explain things further.